equipment that they're using is very different to what we've just seen.
Yeah, very primitive, so I would like to call it. But, no sights, no releases, no peep sights. Obviously, they're shooting the recurve, so they don't have a cam system. There's no let-offs. They're holding back the full weight. I mean, this is like the true OG archery style, right? That's what makes Bearbow so cool. And what's different is, again, like you said, they're using the set system. So they're going end per end, and whoever ends up with the highest score per end will get 2 points toward their set point total. If there's a tie, they each get 1 point, and it's first person to 6 points that will win the match. So it could be won in as little as 3 ends, or we could go all the way through 5 ends and result in a shoot-off. It's just going to depend on how these ladies shake out in the next few arrows.
We've got a left and a right once again, and they are facing each other once again. And it's Diane Cochran. They get us started over on the far side as far as we're concerned.
7. A little bit low.
And after 3 fields, this is the number 1 field as it was listed. Number 2 field is just behind us. That was recurve. Field number 3 was even further away, and that's where Bearbow was. And so, I suspect the conditions are very much different from probably 200 meters away to where we are here, and slightly more elevated here.
So a few differences too. Obviously, they don't have sights, and their bows are much slower than the compound, so they're going to drift more in the wind than what a compound is going to. One thing that's different, though, compounds, because we have the let-off, it's often more difficult to aim in the wind because you're not holding that much weight back. Speaking to the recurves and some of the Bearbows, the wind blowing on them doesn't move them as much because they're holding so much more weight and so much more resistance. But they do have a lot more drift when it comes to the wind with their arrows. So something a little bit easier, but there's another piece that's quite a bit harder for them.
A really strong first end for Sara there.
So 28 to 22. So the way that this works, obviously, with set points, you can see on the screen there that Sara got her 2 set points for the highest 3 arrows, score of that end. And now all of those points, cumulative points, are going to go away. We're going into the next set with just the 2 and the 0, and they start from scratch again. So no cumulative scoring. It's just end per end, and a little bit different. So, for example, in a compound match, if there was that arrow out there in the 6, it's like, oh, you're done.
Yeah.
Or with Bearbow, she lost that set, but now she's basically starting from 0 and has just as much chance to come back and win the next set. So it's a little bit different mindset when you're shooting set points versus cumulative, for sure.
First time these two have met, I believe, in a gold medal match. But there's a wonderful story. Diane was watching a USAT event, gold medal match, a few years back. I believe it may have even been this one. And I think Fawn Gerard was in the gold medal match, very experienced Fawn, vastly experienced and hugely successful. And she was up against Sara Gebhardt, who I think the commentator had said had only been in the sport for a year. And I believe Sara went on to win. This is how Diane relays the story. And that inspired Diane to say, I'm going to move into competitive archery. Up to that point, she was very good at archery, but didn't have the confidence, and saw Sara's story and thought, this woman is my hero. And
wow, that's cool. So to have them both now shooting against each other in a final.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat thing.
Sara was the inspiration for Diane to make that step into competitive archery.
9.
So Diane, just a little bit more consistent in this second end. That's right.
Yep, 9. So Sara will take set 2 as well. One thing I will say I noticed with Bearbow, Diane looks more comfortable at full draw. You don't see as much like quiver, shake type thing. Sara, you can see almost, I don't know if it's nerves or the bow poundage, because it could be both. It could be a combination of both, but you can see a little bit more movement at full draw, yet you don't see that as for her arrow impact downrange. So I think that's one thing that's really neat watching, recurve and Bearbow, is that type of movement is okay because of the holding weight that they have. Like on compound, you just can't get away with that.
And Sara on her way to the gold medal match, beating Kate Earls, who was the gold medalist in Arizona Cup. Elizabeth Howe at the semi-final stage. Elizabeth, a tremendous young talent. It was the U18 gold medalist at SoCal last year, gone up to the senior division, and she was the number 1 seed. Ended up taking bronze, did Elizabeth, but another of the archers beaten by Sara on her way to the gold medal match, and she's 4-0 up in this one against Diane Cochran, who is no stranger to USAT gold medal stage and also the US Open champion from 2024.
Nice. It's a good lead for first arrow there.
Sara from Arizona, Diane from Washington State.
So Diane knows, basically, if she doesn't at least tie this set, she's done. So this is a very, very, do or die moment for her because she needs this set to continue.
Lands a 10, so Diane is very much in the groove in this one. Mother 8, so big opportunity for Diane to get on the board.
Nine, wow.
Here we have it.
It's a really strong end.
So that'll be 4-2.
So again, one thing with set points, we already know that Sara couldn't win that end. So basically her last arrow, whether she hit a 10 or didn't shoot it, it doesn't change the outcome of that set. So we used to shoot set points. So compound I shot when we did this. And I think some of the hardest arrows were if you still had an arrow left and you'd already lost the set. You knew it didn't matter, and I hated that.
What if you've got more ends to come, what goes through your mind? Do you use it as a sighter? Do you think, well, I don't want to waste it out. I don't want to drop my standard. How did you approach those?
Honestly, I just looked at it okay, the nerve should be down a little bit for that arrow. And so it's aim it good, execute good, and reinforce how the shot should feel. That way you carry that into the next end. So yes, I did try to use it and try to capitalize, but mentally, it's a very weird thing to be in a final, have an arrow that you know is irrelevant. Coming from cumulative and then going to set points, it was an interesting transition.
So 4-2, end number 4. In the compound competition. So Matthias Fullerton gold, McClanahan silver, and Gaius Carter getting the bronze. In the women's division, Keane with the gold, Ruiz silver, Olivia Dean with the bronze. Olivia, of course, silver medalist here to your gold 12 months ago.
Oh, was it her? I couldn't remember. I thought it might have been Alexis. I definitely misspoke on her earlier. That's a good first arrow. Olivia shot really well. I watched her bronze medal match, and the wind had really picked up, and she shot very, very strong today. So it's an impressive bronze win for her. Oh, she's a little bit of a wider arrow there from Sara.
Yes, Olivia took gold in Arizona and Gator Cup, and then she was going for the three-peat, and you stepped in and ended. Remember, you ended your run of silvers
yes.
at SoCal.
Hey, this is the first time in 5 years I haven't been in the gold medal match here, but I had lost the first 4. I finally won it last year, so I actually could hear you speaking when the match started, and you said, she's been silver and lost to here the last 4 years.
Me and my big man.
I was laughing so hard. No, it's always good fun. They can't probably hear us over here, but we're being pretty quiet.
And I think that I may have interviewed you afterwards. As somebody like yourself who's won so much, do those needle you? Do those kind of you think the ones that get away? Do you remember them almost as much as the successes? Is that what drives you?
I do. Unfortunately, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but when you win a lot, you start to expect that of yourself. So you're not as excited to win because it's expected, but you're still gutted if you lose. So I'm probably almost more driven by the losses than I am the wins because I really, really dislike losing. Like today, obviously, I'm sitting over here with you and I was not in the finals field.
That's a heck of a consolation.
Yeah, here we go. And it's obviously not the outcome I wanted, but it really just helps put the fire under you, gives you something to work a little bit harder for the next one. Where when you first started, the wins were such a high and they felt so good. When you've done it for as many years as I have and you've won a lot of tournaments, that kind of fades a little bit, but the losses never do. They hurt just as bad as they did on day one.
Yeah.
It's not worse. So we are 4-4, which is insane, obviously, with Sara initially having 4-0 up and Diane winning those last 2 sets coming back. So right now, either one of these ladies can clinch this win in this end. If one of them outright wins this set, they will be the SoCal champion. Wow. Started off with the next. Diane obviously started a little bit slower. Took some time for her to get in the groove, and Sara started a little tighter and then has kind of spread out a little bit as they went on.
It's a deep breath there from Diane. I suspect she'll be quite emotional at the end of this, Diane, knowing how much this means to her. But,
well, they're keeping it interesting.
I was going to say maybe that deep breath told its story.
This is one of the exciting things about Bearbow, though, and people, please don't take this wrong, but you never know what's coming next. That's why it's so.
It could be well, exactly there. There's an X and then a 6.
Yeah, you're like, what? Yeah, 5 and then a 9. 8. Okay.
Okay. Well, Sara needs right down the middle.
Yeah, needs a 10. Nope. You heard her say, as she shot, she knew.
The head down from Sara, but a comeback from Diane, and a 6-4 win for Diane Cochran as she wins SoCal Showdown for 2025. And against, in fact, Diane was saying, they often say don't meet your heroes, and she was delighted to meet her heroes. That is how highly regarded she sees Sara. So we'll get word with Diane very, very shortly. I imagine she's kind of gathering her thoughts a little bit because this is quite a moment for her. You can see her breathing deeply. First time she's met Sara Gebhardt, the woman that inspired her to take up competitive archery, and here she is.
It's a pretty incredible thing, too, to come back from a 4-0 start and actually pull off the win. That was a really, really big turnaround for her.
We're going to get Diane to